there. I wanted to share something and give some instructions on how to make it. Lately, I am golfing a lot, but I'm also very ADHD and I can never remember how many times I've hit the ball. And I wanted a stroke counter, and I've seen these big things that hang on your bag or hang on the cart or hang off your belt. And I saw somewhere a little one like this on a glove, and I thought, oh, that's perfect. And I could never find it again or find the instructions for it, so hopefully you can find these. And the way this works is I just, I can look at it. I always have my one bead over here. There's my tee shot. And then each time I hit the ball, I just scoot a bead over. And it takes very little tension to keep these beads in place. I have never had a problem with them, moving around and me not knowing where how many times I'd hit it or moved it, right? You just keep them separate. I generally use 10 beads because some people play up to double par. Others only do triple bogey. So if you do that, you could make it 8 beads instead of 7. And this one's on here a little bit wonky. I'm going to flip it down here. And see, right now I'm just tucking 2 of the beads around the corner. That gives me, I still have 8 beads on here, but that just gives me a little more space between the beads so I can see and move them around. Okay, so how do we make this? Easy. The first thing I do is I get myself some thread. So I chose this Beadsmith 100% silk thread from Michaels. It's about $16 on their website. I figured it's a little bit more of an investment, but there's enough thread here to last me for the rest of my life. And I felt like silk would probably hold up a little bit better to the sweat and the Velcro and, just everything we put our golf gloves through. So I take a piece of this, maybe, like 12 or 18 inches long. I tend to go a little bit overboard. And then this took me a while to figure out. Using a needle is a nightmare. Like, you can't get the bead and the thread or the needle through the bead with the thread, just impossible. So I figured out if I take a tiny bit of glue, I can use Elmer's glue, wood glue. I don't know, this is just something I bought at the hardware store that I use for other things. But most people have a little glue around somewhere, and then you just smooth that on like the last inch of your thread. And then, the glue, you can just kind of wash it off your hands when it's still wet, or roll it up, it goes away. All right, so I'm going to take that thread, I'm going to lay it somewhere where it's not stuck to anything and it can dry, and when I'm done, it's like this, right? My ends are stiff. They're stiff enough to put them through the beads, which is what I'm looking for. So I take my piece of thread that I did, and I'm going to have glue all over my hands now. Tie a knot in it. So you've got your little base. You don't want to put your beads all the way down to the bottom because you're going to have something to tie it to later. And then I can start choosing my beads that I want to put on here. I do recommend using a couple of different colors. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're looking at it to know, to glance at it, because you're getting old and your eyes aren't so great like me. You want to be able to see your beads, right? So you're just going to thread all your beads on there, whatever colors you choose. The beads are 6/0 check glass beads. I got these at Michael's. The little tube like this was $3.99. I think the big tube was like $5.99 or $6.99 or something. But, not too bad. You can get a couple of different colors. They're not super expensive, right? And you thread those on there. Then once you have all your beads strung on, you have to do kind of a sort of a ladder, I would describe it as. Move this bead up out of the way, right? So you have all the beads strung on one strand, and then you're going to take your free end and go backwards in the bead, right? Just going to go in the opposite direction there, push that on through. Like I said, my ends of the thread are nice and stiff with their glue. And then you don't have to make it tight, but it does help if you kind of keep the beads straight as you stack them up, and you just do that. However many beads, if you want to use 8 or 10, or wouldn't recommend doing more than 10 because you start not having enough space on the glove. But there you go. You have all your pretty beads on there. Then once you've got your 10 beads in your ladder format like that, I like to, when I'm storing them, I'll put them just on a piece of cardboard like this, and then they go in a Ziploc in my golf bag, and I can just hand them out to people if anybody wants one. I usually give away, one every couple of rounds. There's somebody who sees my stroke counter and wants it. And when you're done and you go to put it on the glove, all you do is you just wrap it around here, tie a knot in it. If you have something that has a narrow tab, you can always scoot a couple of beads out of the way if you feel like you need a little bit more of a gap to be able to see how many beads you've moved across. And they just really easily move back and forth. They don't slide or shift or fall. Like I've never had a problem where I couldn't tell was that 5 or 6 because one was in the middle or something. They stay exactly where I need them to, and I just push them back and forth across. I did try at first a couple of other things. This is some stretchy silicone. I thought that might be easier. And the fact is it's hard to move the beads. One strand, it was too loose and the beads were just sliding back and forth. 2 strands, it's just kind of hard to get a hold of it and move it, but it wasn't terrible. The hardest part about this was just getting this silicone through the beads. It was absolute murder. Doing this with the thread, with the glue on the ends, made it so much easier. So I hope you enjoy that and have fun and happy golfing. Thank you. Bye.